The following episode of the Carnival of Randomness is sponsored by an important message to you, the people, from Upsitnik and Associates. Every day there are forces that are taking from you, stealing from you. Your money, your time, your freedom. Immense faceless corporations, banks, credit card companies, insurance providers, government agencies, this list goes on and on. When you are under attack and facing crisis, turn to us, Upsitnik and Associates, attorneys for you, the people. When every day becomes a battle, we can advise and assist. We have been advocates for 40 years. Email us through upsitnikslaw.com or call us at 1-866-391-3299 or reach out to us through Upsitnik and Associates on Facebook for a prompt, no obligation communication and consultation. Don't be pushed around.
Hi, everybody. Another episode of Carnival of Randomness, and it's Rob, and I think that Zach, as usual, with his little mermaid shirt on. Can't see.
It was either my niece or my sister picked this out for me.
And I've often said there's a category of music that I say I can't really describe, but it's just damn good. And my dear friend Ryan Hurley said of this band's last album, it was literally one of the best albums he's ever heard, first time listening to it all the way through, and he's kind of right. And this is King Buffalo, and we have Sean from King Buffalo here. Hi, man. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
I have to dispel something. I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard a rumor with King Buffalo that there's a King New England that goes around, and they spy on your gigs, and they try to compete with you. Is that true?
I wouldn't doubt it for a second.
And I heard their manager and stuff, they spy, and they deflated a couple of your instruments a few times.
Yeah, they keep down-tuning our instruments.
And then King Houston was, spying on the levels that you put on there.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It would have been fine if they just not videotaped it.
Yeah.
Topical!
Music battles. We'll have a whole episode on music chicanery sometimes. But tell us a little about yourself, and, as we go for the audience.
Well, my name's Sean. I play guitar, sing, and synth for King Buffalo. Grew up in the Rochester area and live in Rochester now.
That's very good. And how did you, did you have, I think the influences are, it's trying to describe your music a little. You're kind of psychedelic, you're kind of trippy, heavy, pretty much everything. What would you say, Zach?
Well, I was listening to, I put on the Orion album, and I'm like, man, this would be good to just sit, do something that may or may not be legal depending on your state, and just think about the mysteries of the universe, because it's like that real deep, thought-provoking, sit around and just chill music. It really is. It was relaxing in a way. I liked it.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you. That's definitely, I think, like the vibe we kind of go for.
Yeah, that definitely hit it for me.
Is sort of sounds like a warm, like fuzzy blanket in space.
That's exactly what it was. It was like that's
sliding. A song right there. Yeah, warm fuzzy blanket in space.
It's like slipping into a warm bath. That bath when it's just the right temperature.
The first time I saw you, and I remember I was joking. I don't go to shows that suck. And you said, "Did we suck?" I go, "Hell no." But when you went on, Smoke's Coming Out. You started playing. Actually, of all things, I heard Black Sabbath.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely. We all grew up. Worshiping Sabbath.
And they got the little EP there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, like the simple description, like if I have to describe our band to people that maybe like aren't like huge finger quotes music heads, they're just like more like the average listener. I would say like it sounds like Pink Floyd meets Black Sabbath.
Little Kelly Clarkson thrown in.
Yeah. Little Carly Rae Jepsen.
And just a touch of Muddy Waters.
Also, that's actually a point, though, with your music. And how did you grow up? What did you get into saying, man, this is what I want to do. I dig this. I know some of your things, obviously, knowing you. But what it was like when you first saw like an album that really turned you on to like, wow, I want to do this. This is awesome.
I mean, I was always into music. And like, I guess I would say like my musical like upbringing was pretty normal for like a suburban kid, pilfering like my parents' record stash, I remember I was like got into like playing the records when I was like 12, 13. I was like, oh, this is cool. But I didn't quite get it a lot, a lot of the stuff like, yeah, Zeppelin sounds really cool, Hendrix is badass, but I didn't really understand the music. But I remember I was I think when I was in fourth grade, my stepdad gave me a copy of Animals on CD with like his nice headphones that like only he was allowed to use. And he said, listen to this start to finish. And I did. And it totally like kind of grabbed me, but I didn't I mean, that's like a super
That's
heavy
one of those
concept
albums
record.
that you just, with Floyd, I started with the Syd Barrett stuff a little, Julia Dreams, which is kind of like psychedelic pop.
Yeah.
And then you get to Animals, and you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And then, like, you see pictures of Elisha with the giant pigs flying over. But a lot of people who are huge into Floyd, they will say that's their favorite album.
Yeah, I mean, for years I would have said that. I go back and forth. I mean, and I would just keep it simple, and I just say Dark Side's the best record ever made. It's just like hipster points to say it's not. You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, like start to finish, it's
I
incredible.
remembered at my age growing up, and it would be like I think it was Channel 9 or Channel 11, they would have ads for The Wall on when it came out.
Really?
I remember seeing
like TV ads?
They would have ads for the album coming out with
Wow.
like the little ad. And then I remember seeing the movie going, I'm not going to shave my eyebrows like that.
Yeah, my God,
going,
that
what
movie
the
was
hell is this about?
Ooh, that
Yeah.
movie was
And
a
what
thing.
happened to me was I washed dishes at a restaurant, and I had this one friend of mine who washed dishes, and we would just talk music, and he was this huge Pink Floyd fan, so we would just go on and on about all the different things and everything else. And I started getting, and actually I got the final cut, which a lot of people don't like, and then I went back, but Animals is like Big Man, Pig Man, sure age you are, and Pigs on the Wing, and it is a heavy album to get into to start off listening to that band.
Yeah, and like, you know, I was like, this sounds really cool. Like I liked the vibe and everything, but I obviously had no idea what the lyrics meant. I had no idea what the message was of the record because I was in 4th grade. You know, of course I didn't. But as I like revisited it in my later teen years, I was like, oh yeah, that's like, you know, I loved it. And around that time, you know, I'm 35, so I was growing up in sort of the mid to late 90s.
Is this your
early
birthday,
2000s.
actually? Happy birthday,
Yeah,
man.
a week ago, yeah. So it was, you know, like a lot of like the new metal was like huge then, you know, like I loved Rage Against the Machine, you know, System of a Down, all those bands. Like that's when I really got into playing guitar. Like I was playing along to those records as like a 15-year-old.
See, I was going to ask, we had Sarah on just recently. She's classically trained, and you were classically trained by Spinal Tap. I take it, as I say, did you just play on that sound? But if you're not classically trained, that's what I was going to ask. You just sort of, because the way I did it when I played bass a little bit, I would put on the Scorpions, Rock You Like a Hurricane, The Trooper, tried Heartbreaker by Led Zeppelin, gave up on that one because you realize, like John Paul, what he's doing with that.
Yep.
It's just like, speaking of like with the Wall, when they do Another Brick in the Wall and Pink Floyd, that one thing David Gilmour does, which sounds like he bends the guitar thing all the way down like that, wah. But is that how you learned how to play a lot, by just playing along to these?
Yeah, I mean, I had always done like musical things through school, and like, you know, when my parents would drag me to church and stuff, so I could read music, I could do that, but like I never played guitar at school. You know, like they didn't offer guitar classes. It was, you know, I played the trumpet.
It's
but
a natural transition.
I got my first guitar when I was like 15.
What was it?
It was an Ibanez GAX 70. It was their shitty. It was like a combo. Like they sold the guitar and practice amp combo.
Oh.
And like my mom got it for me for Christmas. I had never asked for a guitar. She just was like, well, whenever you're at like your uncle's house and he had a guitar, like you always seem to pick it up and want to, like, I was always interested in it, but I never like really vocalized it. And she's like, yeah, I bet he'd like that for Christmas. You know, it was like cheap, but you could get them at Walmart, I believe, at the time or whatever. And I got it, and I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing. You know, like it changed my life, and that's how I just started playing along to things, like reading tabs online.
You're lucky it worked, because I remember, like, I got a bass and thought the guitars was old, it was fine. We got amps, they were like $15, so we learned how we got the band name, because the amps would sound like something out of that scene in Spinal Tap when he crashes his guitar.
Yeah.
So we just called ourselves Feedback, because it would just, all the thing would just flow back and everything.
Yeah.
But that's what you do when you get onto something and you dig it and everything, you start playing. And then when did you, I know you do sound too a little bit, so you really got into that part of it too.
Yeah, that was when I went to college. I was a pretty like typical like apathetic teenager, and I, you know, all I wanted to do was play guitar, man. You know, like I didn't really want to do anything with my life. But my mom was like, well, you don't have to go to college, but you have to at least visit one and apply. I don't care if you decide not to go, but if you do not go, you're moving out. You know, it's like one of those things. It's like, okay, I totally understand. And so I went to Fredonia and for an open house, because she was like, they have a good music program. You should check it out. And I took a tour of the music department. They had a really nice studio, and I was like, oh yeah, making records seems like kind of cool. I don't know. I'll apply. Probably won't go. Maybe I'll just become a homeless guitar player or something. I didn't really care. I applied and I got in, and then I was, that's when I got into like the engineering aspect. Before that, all I'd had was like a 4-track cassette recorder in my bedroom type stuff.
That's neat though, because you could do all. I remember like we would do just with the little cassettes. You ever do take the cassette player, put it up to the record player to tape your record and everything.
Oh yeah.
And then the cat would come in or something like, "Shut up!" And
yeah. Or like even just like making like crappy mixtapes off the radio, like having to be ready to hit.
You
call the radio station, like, hey, when's this song coming on? Oh, it's coming on at 5:18.
Like, all right, get it. And I would have stacks. Like I found them when I moved, boxes of mixtapes.
Yep.
Boxes of them, which is always cool. But then you went on too from that, and now was this your first band you played in? Because this is the first band I've seen you in.
No, I was in a bunch of different bands.
I've probably seen you in those. Yeah. I don't remember.
I was in a bunch of bands before this. The one right before was called Abandoned Buildings Club, and that was a fun time. But yeah,
it was. I've seen it so many people before I've even met. I've seen you before because I'm like the little phantom that's roamed around the scene for forever. So
yeah, we were hard to miss. We were that band with 2 drummers that was really loud. So there was still like a psychedelic edge, but it was definitely more the Melvins than it was,
We were the Melvins get mentioned a lot by bands.
I was just thinking, it's like that's not the first Melvins reference that's come along on this show.
Because it's of a certain age, I think, too, when you pick up stuff like that. And we have certain, friends certain age that do this kind of stuff. So, but then how did King Buffalo come about? Was it Prince Buffalo and then you killed the king?
It started as Duke Batavia.
Yeah.
And then shifted out to King, and then they got promoted to King Buffalo.
Honestly, the name thing is like so not even interesting. We formed pretty quick, and then we needed a name. Like we were basically, our drummer was in a different band. They broke up and they had some tour dates that they wanted to fill, and it was like a month or 2 before that tour. So he asked me and Dan, my bass player from Abandoned Buildings Club, was like, do you guys want to fill in so we can do these dates? We said, sure, but instead of actually learning the songs when we'd get together, we would just jam and we were writing. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we're a new band, and if that's the case, we need a name because we're going on the road in 2 weeks at this point. And it was like, fuck. So we wrote
that would have been good.
We wrote 40 or 50 names on a big whiteboard. And then we took turns each crossing off 3 or 4 until we got down to a final 4 that we hated the least. So it was okay. And it's, Martha Dump Truck was actually really close to becoming the band name because it was so bad that everyone just thought it was funny to leave it up. Someone else will cross it off.
Yeah.
And no one crossed it off. And it made the final 4. And then it's shit, we could be Martha Dump Truck. And basically we just settled on King Buffalo. We didn't really think it through. It's kind of a mistake because we get a lot of, you guys aren't even from Buffalo. And it's yeah, we didn't really think that through. We just thought it was an interesting image of a weird shaman guy.
You can use this, make this a song, an instrumental, use it for a side project. There's got to be a band called Narcotic Lollipop. Name keeps popping in my head. Some friend of mine, feel free, use it as an instrumental, use it as a song. I could picture them in my head and they're not real.
I would be shocked if there isn't a Narcotic Lollipop post-punk band somewhere.
At this point in the time space continuum,
or you could have been the newest Yardbirds, like Jimmy Page did the new Yardbirds for Led Zeppelin, and then change your name afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, we were the newest Yardbirds, but then consider
you should call it temporary name or insert name here.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
What were your first gigs ever that you played out in terms? How did it, in the field of doing that, playing live and everything?
I would say probably most musicians' early shows is no one's there. Although, if are you talking about specifically King Buffalo?
Whenever you played, I always sort of interested because he's seen. I remember one of his things. I guess one of our friends saw Loverboy play at a bowling alley.
Yeah, Darren saw Loverboy play at the Ledgeworth bowling alley.
Stage.
Yeah,
bowling alley.
Yeah, they put riser. They put a riser over 4 or 5 lanes. Wow. And they just played while people were probably bowling.
And there was
on the
one
side of them.
Carl told the story about when he started. Was in a bar in Galveston, so he comes in. and he played on Wednesday nights, and it would say sign special, chicken for $4, pitchers of beer $2, and Hayes Carl.
Wow.
So,
yeah, I mean, I don't know, like locally when we were all younger and it was easy, you know, like all your drinking buddies, you come to the show and it just basically be like your buds, you know. But like I said, we started touring pretty much immediately as a band, and like it was years of like playing to the bartenders, you know, and like no one else. Yeah. And
I always love that though in a way, because I think you look back when you get some little bit of success and stuff, and you think about those days and go, you know, somebody who sold millions of records, you think back. I remember there were 3 people, some drunk threw a bottle at me, you know, these early gigs and everything.
The early gigs, like, yeah, you know, we made $25, bought a round of drinks for the bar, and we're still left with money.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of those. I don't know. It's now we'd be a little more depressed if that was happening. But when you're younger, it's like it's just fun. You're just living out of a van with your buds, and
dude, we just played music in a bar and got money for it.
And I think it's whenever I talk to like younger musicians, that's like the first thing I always say is like start touring like immediately.
That's what I was going to ask you. Was that a group decision, or is it we're going to start touring?
Well, like I said, we formed to fill tour dates, and that was something I'd always really wanted to do, was to be like a touring musician.
Because I guess like the band Triumph, what they did, they never opened. They started pretty much touring. All they did, and they put all their money into their show.
Yeah.
And the way it went then, it's like I always said, you know, now you put something out, it's all over the internet. It was sort of organically how it grew. Like you would hear, like I was reading about the club scenes in the 70s, and a band like the Good Rats, for example, or Twisted Sister, they could play Long Island, stay local, and they'd make like 6 figures. Because in the club scenes, you'd have to play every night.
Yep.
But how word of mouth gets out, like there's 3 people, then there's 10 people, then all of a sudden you can't get through the door because people know.
Well, yeah, and it's tough, as we all know, like the state of the current music industry is like you're not making money on record sales, you know? So to do it, like, I mean, that you have to be touring. You have to go do it. And to piggyback with that is you have to have a shitload of T-shirts to sell, you know? Like, honestly, so like you play that show in Birmingham, Alabama, maybe there's 10 people there. If you can sell 2 T-shirts, you probably just made more than you're getting from the bar for playing.
And the thing is, too, you didn't realize it, but when you did the name, I always say when you think of the name, think of the shirt, and you can get some damn good shirts. Or like your
I mean, this probably sounds pretty jaded, but like really, what I've always joke about, like we're just basically traveling T-shirt salesmen who use like our music as the marketing to sell T-shirts.
Well, it is though, because I've heard actually from a friend actually played at like a pumpkin farm over Halloween. He said they froze their asses off. They played on like a trailer, but he said the gig was awesome because people were buying the shirts, the CDs.
I mean, that's what you got to do.
And that's my thing now. When I go to acts, I like an act. I buy the album and I buy shirts because it's like your gas money or your.
Well, and a lot of times too, that's the best way. I mean, it depends on whatever deal an artist has, but that's the best way to actually, like, they'll get more of a cut from a T-shirt sale than they would from a record sale.
Yeah.
You know, if they're on a label, they're getting pennies on the dollar for that CD or record sale, but they might get 50% of that.
So
T-shirt
buy
sale.
those shirts and everything. Buy them, and they have lots of designs,
patches,
and
like all the
You come up with the designs and everything.
No, I don't do any of the graphic design. We sub out to some artists that we really like.
We kind of too, because we suck.
Yeah, our drummer does some of them, and he does a good job. So we try to have. I mean, we usually have anywhere from 5 to 8 different available T-shirt designs at our merch area. So hopefully there's something for everyone.
It's like your first little CD. The art here is
our bass player did that, actually. That was him.
I'm trying. It's a plant or something. What is this?
It's a skull of some sort of bovine creature.
I love the use of the word bovine. I love that.
Yeah, definitely some sort of.
I think it's bovine. A cow. Maybe it's a buffalo.
Yeah, right there. It looks like the old cow skulls you'd see in the old Western movies. In the desert.
Funky.
Yep.
but it's mixed in with
I was going to say one thing. A lot of your themes, and I just happen to notice this because I have your little sticker I got with your albums too. You have a lot of like space themes.
I was
going
to say that looks reminiscent
like Orion, obviously.
Looks
and I
reminiscent
remember
of
Orion. They actually had a
organization
restaurant in Orion's Belt restaurant. It got 3-star rating.
Yeah.
But I noticed that
3 years
like,
in a
this
row.
is almost like a little. It's almost like a space symbol.
Yeah, the NASA
It's
ripoff.
Like, like
you
Spock. This isn't red. I can wear it.
May as well. They're not using
And are
it.
you interested in that type of thing or whatever?
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know, just piggyback off that, like we have an EP coming out March 20th, and that's heavily space themed. Like the whole thing is.
Well, for Orion, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, the newest one's called Dead Star, and every song is basically something about space.
Did you get into that type of thing? 'Cause, I mean, I grew up watching Cosmos and getting into all astronomy and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're definitely into the mysteries of the natural and cosmic world. You know, they're fascinating. I don't know. I think it's cool.
I get those vibes. Like, I think there's something very mystical about like you're like longing to be the mountain and the way it looks, and just like the whole idea of the songs. It's like a trip.
Yeah, we try to have all of our releases. That demo, not so much, but our Orion, Repeater, which was an EP we did after that, and then Longing to Be the Mountain, and now Dead Star. They all have sort of a different story, and everyone we try to do our best to make everything a concept record.
Yeah, and I always like a lot of your songs. It starts with the long instrumental. You get in the vibe, and then you get the vocals, and you fade in. So you're sucked into it. It's like a little story in a way. It is.
Thanks, man. That's definitely the aim.
Because it is. You're sitting there, okay, here he goes. Okay, it's slow build up.
Yeah.
And it's,
But then it really makes it's like when it hits, it's like, yeah. But that's another thing. Is like structure of music is so unusual because everybody really likes to just kind of go full force all at once. But no, you got to have a build up, right?
Oh,
you got to
absolutely.
build the anticipation. It's like
anything. I mean, that's always been like one of our sort of rules that we, is, you can't have the sledgehammer the whole time, and you can't be doing otherwise. Like it becomes fatiguing and it's not as impactful. What we like to try to do is have your moments of like heinous, heavy destruction, but then like take a while to get there, so that it feels dramatic. It's not just like if you listen to a whole 40-minute record and it's just balls to the wall the whole time, it gets kind of fatiguing. I think.
Yeah, and I call it, it's the light and dark concept.
Yeah.
You start off with you got light, then you got dark, you got the different changes and everything.
But I was going to say, what was it? Heavy destruction, whatever you just said.
Oh, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Heavy destruction.
No, there was something, another H, something.
Heinous,
heavy destruction. That's track 4 on the new album coming out March 20th.
Yeah, by Narcotic Lollipop.
It's coming, I know. I just love the name.
Patent pending, copyright.
But we actually played Cosmonaut when we had the person from the museum in here.
Oh, really?
Because we're like, it's perfect.
Cool.
She didn't say like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
But that's what I always say like about your band too, is I always look out and go, okay, you can listen, these bands are good, but sort of the same stuff. You guys are unique though. I can't really think of stuff that's like you, or it's like you have your own sound.
I appreciate that.
No, and it really is, because there's a lot of bands that are very good in their genres, but then, okay, listen to them. And I will say for your shows, when you play locally, they're madhouses. And I will say, like, your show in December, I'm crazy about saying hi to friends. And I couldn't get near you. You were like a rock star.
Yeah, it was, it was chaos. That you're talking about the one at the Bug Jar?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I literally never parked so far away.
Really? Yeah, it was really cool. It was amazing, like the outpouring of support that we had for that show. But it was definitely, it was a madhouse.
Now, do you open for people on the road, or you just go do your own?
It depends. It depends on the show. We've done tours opening for The Sword, all of them, which is we sometimes we'll do opening slots. Sometimes we do our own.
I was going to say, do you have any like good wacky tour stories and stuff that's happened on the road or anything? I'll preface it for you. One of our friends, Greg Andrews, is on. He was playing a gig. He's a drummer, and they're like on a dock. A guy hooked him with his fish hook.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. That was funny.
I honestly, like, for the most part, touring is kind of a lot more boring than it tends to get made out to be, which is a good thing. It's like we don't really party very hard. We don't have too many like really wild stories. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's the
there's a joke about the whole idea Man Magazine did about Star Trek, and they had him sitting there going, well, these are the boring things between adventures. It's like when you travel, a lot of travel is getting to the destination, too. You get plane or ride, so you're spending a lot of time doing that, and you're not like, it's not all wild and...
Yeah, you're in the van for anywhere from 4 to 8 hours a day, and you get to the venue, you load in, you set up, you do your sound check, and then you have an hour before the show starts. So, like,
if you have like the stories, like, have you ever had any like horrendous weather?
Oh yeah,
there we go. That's the one, because I remember reading about Springsteen one time, and I guess they had to do the whole thing in Colorado, put the chains on the tires and everything, or Led Zeppelin. They're in a van when they first started. They're going over an ice bridge. They think it's going to break any minute.
So we did. We've encountered both extremes. We did a show in the snow in Montreal. It was like late October, early November. It was an outdoor show, and there was a couple of like little videos of just us getting like pounded with snow and sleet. And it was like horizontal, so it was like coming in and just soaking our guitars and pedal boards and synths and everything. It was just like horrifying. My fingers have never been so cold. That was really brutal. And then we've done the exact opposite. We played on a beach with no like canopy cover, direct sunlight. Beach? No, it wasn't. It wasn't a new beach, but there was no sun coverage of any kind, and it must have been about 100 degrees. It's like the only time I've ever played a show with my shirt off because it was so brutal. And I'm just like, my guitar was covered in sunscreen because it was just like sweating.
You could have souvenired. You could have worn T-shirts, sweated through them to the audience.
Oh, it was like...
But then you had the big guitar tan line.
It was horrible.
But if you played at a nude beach and all of a sudden like hey, that dude really likes our music.
Yeah. I thought I was hallucinating. Like, my bass player, like, we both looked at each other at one point and legitimately thought like we were going to die.
I literally went to a gig a few months ago. The drummer dropped over, and he turned out okay, so I could tell the story. But it was dehydration.
Yeah, it was insane. But so we've covered the weather pretty.
People don't realize how much work it is playing too. They think it's playing. It's fun, yes, it's fun, but it's also it's just it's a lot of work too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I always like it when it's kind of hot. Like I want to sweat. I want to be like kind of sweaty and gross. I want to feel like feel like you're working hard, but like there's also like a line of like, now I feel like I'm gonna die.
I had one, like I was actually reliving when I saw the Kinks play because it was the first time I met Greg Townsend of the High Rises. Like at the Jazzberry, I saw the Essentials, but I went to see the Kinks play at U of R. And Ray Davies, it was UK Jive. He wore the UK flag jackets, and he was going out. You could see him. He had the heart attack before, and he's sweating and saying, okay, but it's really hot up here. Yeah. But I was gonna say, how did your band react if anybody yells Freebird? Because we have Freebird, like some people use that.
I don't know. Honestly, like I don't really care.
I love that.
I love Freebird. Like I love that song. But it's just usually kind of more like a referendum on the person yelling it than anything else. It's just kind of like, okay, like you don't do this very often. You don't come to shows.
You don't
very
Ryan
often.
Adams them, do you? Because Ryan's had some issues, and I went to see him. And somebody yelled Freebird, and he stops the show, and he said, that would have been more relevant in the 80s when a few of them were still alive.
Yeah. No, I mean, we don't...
more cowbell.
We don't really... we haven't really... It doesn't really happen that often.
Well, you're rock gods. That's the way I call it up there. You're in your own zone playing. And it's like Richie Blackmore, I guess he said he wasn't nasty on stage, but he was so into playing.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of funny. Like, definitely depends on like the city and the type of crowd. But there's a lot of shows we play, and like you were saying, it's kind of like music to zone out to. Yeah. So there's a lot of times, and we bleed a lot of the songs together. So there's a lot of times when like we'll stop a song, and like people don't know if they're supposed to like clap, and so they're just kind of like.
What are they done, man?
Yeah.
Weirdly, and you may not have heard of this. When I was a freshman in college, and I'm not that much older than you, so this was 2000. The dude that lived in the room next to me, he was actually roommates with my buddy, the Stormin' Mormon, but he was obsessed with this band, kind of like that, Mogwai.
Oh yeah,
if you've ever heard of
that.
And I just remember
like a wall of sound. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and we would just sit there and like stare out the window and just listen to this. It's like, this is weird, but I don't know but I really like it, and I can't figure out why.
I was going to say, too, did you consciously make an effort? Because I always say there's a big difference between covering other songs and doing your own music. And I always say that you can have some very good cover bands, but there's a passion that comes with doing your own thing. And I've noticed you've never really done any cover songs. I missed them or something because I was drunk when I was at a show or something.
we did used to play like a Sabbath tune here or there, and then we took part in like a record label did like they called it a Redux, sort of like a celebration of Electric Ladyland, and they had all these different bands doing a cover of Hendrix, and they put it all on the record.
Did you feel sort of like trying to play him?
I mean, it was a bit daunting. We did The House is Burning Down, which is like kind of a weird song.
I know it. I've actually posted it online before.
Yeah, and so we did that, and so that was like really the extent of our cover history. It's just kind of I always get this idea, like I was like, we should do covers, we should do a cover, but then there's always like a million other things for us to do.
Yeah.
That it's like, are we really going to take time to learn the song instead of just like
maybe like if there's a band you like and they do like one of those shows like we have many around it with the tribute, you go play 2 songs just for the hell of it. Always something like that sometimes.
Yeah, it's just been, like I said, it's just been tough. Like we usually find ourselves pretty busy with stuff, so to like actually take the time, I like learn stuff in my private time, like when I'm practicing at home, but it's
no Christmas album forthcoming.
No, not yet. Maybe someday. Maybe we'll hop on that like Beatles train and do like a Christmas record of the year.
A doomy, dreary Christmas.
Yeah,
that's about what I've been asking a lot, like for comfort zones, because this is one of the things that's popped in my head. I've asked every musician: is there anything like different style, just for kicks, like you'd want to ever play, like try something way out of somebody's going to say, wow, he actually is playing this, like the music of ABBA or something.
Yeah, I mean, I would be down to rocking some ABBA, but yeah, I mean, we always want to do different and weird stuff. All of us kind of have a different style and different background, so what might feel awkward and uncomfortable for me might feel totally normal to the drummer or the bass player, or vice versa. So that's an interesting.
You know what I see with you too? I call like your music and a lot of bands I know, or I call it no boundaries on it. Where okay, you go from one of them to another. It's not okay. Well, we have one of their CDs. Damn, I know what you're going to sound like. Everything you do is like when I put on Orion and then put on your latest one, which I keep looking at long because I know what it is. I've had it for how long, but I have longed to be the Mountain, except for that dude in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy.
You wouldn't want to be Half Thor? Why not?
Half Thor's cool.
Half Thor's a legend.
Yes.
Love you, Half Thor.
But it's always, I love to see what you come up with next. It's a lot of bands. It's like Mayberry you played with.
Yeah, they're great.
I was telling Josh and Sam, it's like when you guys, I saw them, because I always say 2013 was my year of like meeting a lot of my friends now, like that age group. And seeing, when you see them from the beginning, I think I saw them open for Gringo Star the first time.
Oh, wow.
And they all came out with hats and everything. And then seeing what they did then and what they are now, I'm like, for you, every time you do something, it's, wow, you bring like the whole kitchen sink of the little cornucopia thing from Thanksgiving in your thing. It's always something different and awesome.
Yeah, and I know like for me, I'm kind of like the, I'm the main songwriter. A lot of it is jams, but I'm the, I edit a lot of the stuff. And so for me, before every recording project, I try to think like, what are we going to do? What's one thing that we want to make sure we do different on this record? And so like the new EP we have coming out on March 20th, it was like, okay, well, I'm going to play this whole record in an alternate tuning. And like, I kind of like came up with this different tuning, and like, that's going to be the whole record. I'm going to force myself to write these songs in this thing just to try to, because, it can be too easy. Like, we actually it's kind of funny. It feels like a little bit of a hack. Like, when we'll play like an hour-long show, and like, out of that hour, like 45, 50 minutes are all in the same key, Well,
like Neil Peart, what he did, the late Neil Peart, I guess he, like in the 90s, like the late 90s, it could have been early this decade, I get times wrong, he taught himself a whole different drum style. Like just to test himself, he took lessons.
Yeah,
just to get in. You figure he was probably good enough before.
Oh yeah,
I think he wasn't too bad.
No, I think he was okay
before that. But then he taught himself. He wanted to try a new challenge, so he just tried a different. And that's another thing I would ask. Is there any instrument you'd ever like to try? Now you play. Now again, you have an affection for synthesizers, obviously. You're doing the Geddy Lee thing though when you play it.
Yeah. No, I love playing synthesizer. Yeah, it's great. And we definitely have been incorporating more and more of that into the band. We actually have like a full synth song on the new EP.
Did you ever do like when you were a kid? I had my brother had one. And I used to love to goof with the sound effects.
Oh yeah,
like, get the flying clouds.
Yeah, yeah. I when I growing up, I had like one of those cheap Casio keyboards, I just would like sit in my bedroom, just like bashing on the keys, making horrific sounds. But it was fun.
Well, it's like when you were saying about the guitar that came with its own practice amp. I had that Casio keyboard, but it came with the New Kids on the Block songbook.
Really?
So
you're looking, oh God, that would have been.
And how do your
early
songs
90s?
come to you? Like, really, do you sort of, is it like the sci-fi topic, the space topic? Do they just? I always like for influences. Like, you're not really the love song type of guy.
No,
thankfully,
no.
But does it sort of like your influences just? Do they come to you a little, or you'll be like watching stuff and going?
It depends. So I have like a little file on my phone that I just like if I hear something or think of something or see like an interesting phrase, I'll just like jot them down. But honestly, like a lot of the lyrics is kind of a tandem effort between me and Scott, the drummer. He's able to write a lot more faster than me, where I'm like for me, it's like performing surgery on myself. Like it's so painful and like, difficult for me to do. So he's able to like, I'll start something and be like, okay, this is the theme. This is like a couple lines. This is the melody. He'll write a bunch of stuff and I'll be like, oh, okay, I like those two lines. And then I'll build up. It'll be kind of like,
I think collaboration's a good thing, because then when you run into a wall or you have an idea, if you're honest with each other, if it's okay, that just doesn't work. Or why there's something missing? It's like adding, vanilla to Velveeta if you cook it.
Yeah,
Batista did that.
No, it was the pulled pork.
Yeah, pulled pork. He couldn't find the barbecue, but something was missing. So we added a dash vanilla.
Yeah.
There you go, song. I was making pulled pork.
Yeah.
Dash vanilla. But it just takes it over, where it's like something. Because I'm sure doing this long enough, you can just tell. Okay, it sounds pretty good, but there's just something's not. We need, something a little more.
Yeah, and it can be hard because, like I said, we do try to have every release be like its own sort of story and theme. So there has to, sometimes I wish it could just be as easy as like, oh, well, this song, we'll just make it the song about driving a fast car. Like whatever. Like it's like difficult when it's like, no, but this has to be the link to get from that song to that song. So, like we can't have the subject matter be this on this song. It has to be something like this to
make it flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I say, if you played in Europe.
Yeah.
I knew you did. How was that traveling around the highways and byways of Europe?
It's great.
I think what gets you, like, we forget we're in America. It ain't that big.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they have their consumption of rock music is pretty profound over there. Like, we've had some really amazing shows. And in general, we do really well in Europe. Everything about the touring experience is so much different. They treat bands way different.
How do you travel? Because I always traveled by train when I was in Europe. Do you drive? You actually drive?
We usually. You
ever go on the wrong side like an American?
We usually have a driver because that would be too much. And we usually are splitting a van and a driver with another band.
No, because I think that's a cool part of being on the road too. Is you see all these places and you're loading up or going.
Yeah.
And now fans even like language barriers. Music's like a universal language.
Yeah, and to be fair, pretty much everyone in Europe speaks English.
Mostly,
yeah. Like there are certain spots where they don't. Like maybe in France they pretend like they don't, but they probably do.
That's the thing. They pretend they don't, but we all know.
Thank you, I've been. I mean,
there's a lot of spots in Italy that
you're watching CNN in English, you bastard.
You know what got me was like at Helsinki when I was in Finland. I had no problem because everybody's over here about learning, languages. Like, go to another country. Like, some people speak 6 of them.
Yeah.
I could barely speak, it's like I do the diehard quote. I could speak, English and bad English.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's like one of the many things we could improve upon as a country is the way we educate our youth is, multilingualism. I can't even say the word. I can't even speak my own freaking language.
That's because ask any person who learned English later in life. It is the hardest language to learn as an adult.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean,
because it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know you probably like them all. But do you have any favorites sort of in Europe and playing in countries?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Norway. Norway is awesome. I mean, Germany's been like Berlin is one of our best times. Like we always have amazing shows in Berlin. London's been cool.
Where'd you play in London? Because I was there, and I remember I missed Greg Townsend by like a week, and I thought the coolest thing, like if you were playing, Greg was playing at the Red Lion. So I happened to be in England like a week before. If only because I just could imagine like, you know, you imagine like someone you're from here walks in at a gig you're playing in London.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I'd come to the gig.
Yeah. We played. I'm trying to remember. The one place I can remember off the top of my head was called the Black Heart. And that was like kind of in Camden. It's kind of.
I had, as a Motorhead fan, I had to go see what the Hammersmith Odeon is. So being like an American, I'm going down there, and people, I guess it's a bad area, and they're like, "You're crazy." There's like a bomb threat.
Really?
It's America. And I'm used to hearing these people would do them at their schools all the
Exactly.
time.
Bomb threat.
This was like
that's
pre,
second news to us.
Pre 9/11 stuff, and I remember, and they're like, "You're crazy." It's like, no, I'm just American. What do you want? But I had to see the Hammersmith Odeon because, like, I just have that for like arenas like that. I think it's cool. Like I just was at the Beacon Theater. And being a music person, you suck this up going, imagine who's played here.
Yeah.
And everything else.
Yeah, we played a year or two ago, a couple years ago maybe. We played the Fillmore in San Francisco.
Oh,
and it was like freaky, you know.
That's how the Beacon was with me. I had to get to the Beacon. I saw Jason Isbell there. And it just was, it's the Beacon Theater. Imagine what these walls could say and everything.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's cool, and I think it really. You ever like too? It's cool, I think too. With like Greg again, I use Greg Townsend a lot as an example. He said like in Spain, like hearing your song on the radio, or kids finding like you're from here. Kids are digging your music all over the place.
Yeah,
it's just awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, that's probably been the best development of like music on the internet is the fact that like you know you can get an email from some kid in Portugal who's like, hey, I just really like.
Yeah, we have some guy in
music, you know?
Canada who follows us, I think. And I don't know how they found us. Or...
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's really random.
Yeah, remember back in the day, again, like that, where, okay, you'd find a band, and either, like, I would go down, like, the Lakeshore Record Exchange, ask them what they got in, you go to the House of Guitars, try to go through the stacks.
Yeah, yeah.
And for me, when it was cheap, obviously, this album cover looks cool.
Yeah.
But how did you get word before, even MTV, like Pat Denizio, the Smithereens said to me, you know, you saw the video, and pretty good, I'll go check it out. But before even that, I used to try to listen to late night rock shows, try to get the local thing up, and just you try to find the stuff. And when it was out there, it had to reach its audience.
Yeah.
Here it can, like if you're looking for, even though some of those things don't work very well when you do the song, and they try to give you what you think you like, and they will give me something, and I'm looking, why do you think I like that when I'm listening to this?
Yeah. You're talking about like you know, like Pandora.
That's exactly, yeah.
You know, my favorite thing about Pandora, I think is hilarious, is that Johnny Cash finds his way into every freaking genre. You could be listening to like Public Enemy Radio. Like,
yeah, it's like
here, Johnny Cash.
So you can tell what label throws them a lot of money.
Yeah, it's just like Johnny Cash somehow works his way into every 9 Inch Nails Radio, Johnny Cash. Madonna, Johnny Cash somehow gets in there. Like, how does he...
I never saw them. I wish I did. They played here. Never heard about them again. There's a band that played here. It wasn't from here, I don't think. But they're called the Man in Black Sabbath. They played locally. I missed the gig. But I guess they did Johnny Cash like Black Sabbath songs.
Really?
It was like Led Zeppelin, where they did the Led Zeppelin to a reggae beat with the Elvis impersonator.
Yeah.
Stuff
Wow.
like that. But that's cool, and I really am looking forward to what you guys do ahead. And you have this new thing coming out. We'll have this out just about when it comes out. So
Yeah.
let's talk about a little about it. You can keep secret what you want. For
Yeah. I mean, it's called Dead Star. It's a very long EP, a short full length. It's only 5 songs, I think.
But understand, King Buffalo 5 songs is a tad different than some where you're getting your money's worth and you're getting a full...
Yeah, I mean, it's about, I think it comes in at around 35, 36 minutes.
I thought, you know what you would be perfect for your band? Do a soundtrack like for the planetarium for a show.
Oh, I would absolutely love that.
Hey, we know somebody.
Yeah, we do. We've had the head of the museum.
Head of the museum, and she's
we
already
tried to get her actually. She might be working with Burlesque.
No,
wow.
I was going to say she's in talks to work with the Bewitched Burlesque.
Cool.
Yeah. But I just thought of that. Imagine going to like one of those star shows and
Dude,
background music.
awesome.
That would be so.
Yeah, that'd be like a dream come true. That'd be awesome.
Because I love the planetarium.
Yeah.
If you grew up around here, obviously, all I could think of that big moon and
Yeah.
going to see all that stuff. But that would be awesome. But this is good, something to look forward to, and it will be out all over
Yeah, March 20th. It'll be out on
everything. Pretty
all the formats. We do have a music video coming out at some point for one of the songs. I don't know when that's coming out.
How do you like doing videos? Some people do, some people don't.
I would say the guy we got to do our video is great, Adam Antelek. He did an amazing job. But I would also say that it's not something that we are as good at as a band.
You don't like play. Do you do it more live, or you playing like?
Yeah, we're like playing, and then there's a lot of different stuff. Adam did a really cool job
That's
making
cool,
it. Making
I
it look
always
cool.
say sometimes that could change the meaning of the song.
Yeah.
Because like Tom Petty always pointed like, "Don't come around here anymore." He said, "Listen to the song. It's very sort of dark, but because of that video with the Alice in Wonderland, it's light."
Yeah. I mean, music videos are a tough thing. We're not like the most photogenic.
Oh, come on.
So
That why you use smoke during the shows?
yeah. I mean, if we had our way, we would just be like blasted with, smoke and projections and
You are though,
like give us something else for people to
You have
watch.
that way you
But
start off on the guitar, and you sort of like go back and everything. It's sort of theatrical, I suppose.
You could do like Maynard did and, turn his back to the crowd the whole time.
yeah, it could.
I'm pretty sure, because when he was with A Perfect Circle, I saw him and he had his back to the crowd most of the time.
Yeah, he tends to put himself towards the back. When I saw them at what was the War Memorial
Yeah, I still
a year or
call
two
it
ago.
that. I always
Yeah,
call Blue Cross, but I always call it the War Memorial.
yeah, he was definitely the guitar and bass player up front and
Yeah, and he's just
front,
kind
and
of stuck back in the
he's
corner.
back in the corner behind the drums almost.
But you can hear him.
Yeah.
Or do like Pink Floyd's have somebody come and build a wall.
Yeah, that's
Don't do
fine.
like Spinal Tap with the little Stonehenge.
No,
hey,
no.
we tried to get the bottles. Anything.
Yeah.
But very cool having you on.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, well,
It's
thank you
very
for
cool.
having me. It was
And now
fun.
you want to introduce your newest your thing. We'll play your song.
Oh yeah. So
Better you do it than us because I'll screw it up. That's
Yeah.
what you're here for.
playing a song off the new EP called Dead Star. The song is Eta Carinae, which we were talking about space. It's I don't know all the technical terms at this point off the top of my head, but it's like the biggest moon or biggest sun in like the known galaxy. It's pretty wild.
Carinae, son. Yeah, Corona. Yes,
Yeah, I
son.
was about to write that down to spell it. And I'll look it up later.
Yeah.
That one ain't happening right now.
ETA Carinae.
Wow.
Eta Carinae. Yeah.
That's very cool. And check it out. It'll be very good. And Sean, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. Nice meeting you, Zach. And good
You
seeing
know,
you,
damn
Bob.
it.
Yeah, meeting him again and
Thanks.
listen to the song and we'll see you later.